So the FBI has now finished their investigation into Hillary Clinton's emails, and the results, their findings, are exactly what I knew they would be. However, their recommendation is idiotic, to say the least. Let me break down what he said at a news conference. It's wow. So I'm going to start at the very beginning here. First quote from what he said today. I have so far used the singular term email server in describing the referral that began our investigation. It turns out to have been more complicated than that. Secretary Clinton used several different servers and administrators of those servers during her 4 years at the State Department and used numerous mobile devices to view and send email on that personal domain. As new servers and equipment were employed, older servers were taken out of service, stored, and decommissioned in various ways. Piecing all of that back together to gain as full an understanding as possible of the ways in which personal email was used for government work has been a painstaking undertaking requiring thousands of hours of effort. He continues, for example, when one of Secretary Clinton's original personal servers were decommissioned in 2013, the email software was removed. Doing that didn't remove the email content, but it was like removing the frame from a huge finished jigsaw puzzle and dumping the pieces on the floor. The effect was that millions of email fragments end up unsorted in the server's unused or slack space. We searched through all of it to see what was there and what parts of the puzzle could be put back together. Now, I generally don't have anything to say about that. I wanted to give that to you just so I could give you a little bit more information about just what she actually did. She actually had more than one server, and she had multiple, and every time she would decommission one and they would remove the software and they'd get a new server. Take that as you will. I mean, I thought it was just one server. To learn it was more than one is disgusting that someone could get away with that. That means each time she did not get the approval she needed to have a personal email server in her home in New York or wherever it was while she was Secretary of State, which is against the law because that is not an approved place. Anywhere she might have put it is not an approved place to store classified or government emails. With respect to the thousands of emails we found that were not among those produced to state, agencies have concluded that 3 of those were classified at the time they were sent or received. Again, I'm going to read that again. With respect to the thousands of emails we found that were not among those produced to state, agencies have concluded that 3 of those were classified at the time they were sent or received, 1 at the secret level and 2 at the confidential level. There were no additional top secret emails found. Finally, none of those we found have since been up-classified. I should add here that we found no evidence that any of the additional work-related emails were intentionally deleted in an effort to conceal them. Our assessment is that, like many email users, Secretary Clinton periodically deleted emails or emails were purged from the system when devices were changed. So let me tackle that first bit. With respect to the thousands of emails we found that were not among those produced to state, agencies have concluded. So she sent classified email through her server and received classified emails through her server and did nothing to protect it. Let me put it into context like this. I was in the military. In the military, you have to know how to handle classified information. Does that mean you're ever going to touch classified information? You might not. If you're higher up, you most definitely will. I was lower on the totem pole, and I still had to know how to handle classified information. That being said, I know what would have happened to me had I not handled classified information correctly. Let's just say if I didn't, I wouldn't be sitting right here right now making these videos. It could also be that some of the additional work-related emails we recovered were among those deleted as personal by Secretary Clinton's lawyers when they reviewed and sorted her emails for production in 2014. That's something I talked about in a previous video. Her and her team went through these emails and filtered out what were personal and private and what were work related. And in doing so, they ended up picking some emails that were definitely necessary to this investigation and to the State Department's investigation. Whether that was intentional or not is a huge problem. Secretary Clinton should not have been the person to go through her emails or her team to decide which ones were necessary to submit to the State Department or to the FBI. The lawyers doing the sorting for Secretary Clinton in 2014 did not individually read the content of all of her emails as we did for those available to us. Instead, they relied on header information and used search terms to try to find all work-related emails. Among the reportedly more than 60,000 total emails remaining on Secretary Clinton's personal system in 2014, it is highly likely their search terms missed some work-related emails and that we later found them, for example, in the mailboxes of other officials or in the Slack space of a server. Again, that presents another problem. Instead of actually going through and reading the emails, they were just reading the header information, which means they were missing a lot. I know when I send emails, whether they be work-related or personal, may or may not give the header an actual relation to the content. You know, it's just the way I do my business. I try to make it more fun. Or I just try to come up with something to put it as the subject line, as the header, because I hate writing the subject line or the header. So for them to just go through and sort based on that is ridiculous. And another problem. He continues, it is also likely that there are other work-related emails that they did not produce to State and that we did not find elsewhere, and that are now gone because they deleted all emails they did not return to State, and the lawyers cleaned their devices in such a way as to preclude complete forensic recovery. That's tampering right there. Whether there was an intent to tamper or obstruct a federal investigation doesn't matter. That's what happened. And if it's her lawyers that are going through and deleting the emails as investigations are going on in order to hand these over, they knowingly did that because they are lawyers. They know the law. They know that deleting these emails that they assume are personal and private is against the law when there are federal investigations going on. He continues, we have conducted interviews and done technical examination to attempt to understand how that sorting was done by her attorneys. Although we do not have complete visibility because we are not able to fully reconstruct the electronic record of that sorting, we believe our investigation has been sufficient to give us reasonable confidence that there was no intentional misconduct in connection with that sorting effort. I just told you that there was. So, moving on. Although we did not find clear evidence that Secretary Clinton or her colleagues intended to violate laws governing the handling of classified information, there is evidence that they were extremely careless in their handling of very sensitive, highly classified information. They were very careless. That's enough right there. Again, I go back to my days in the military. If I was very careless in handling classified information while I was in the military, that's my ass. Continuing on, For example, 7 email chains concern matters that were classified at the top secret or special access program level when they were sent and received. These chains involve Secretary Clinton both sending emails about those matters and receiving emails from others about the matters. There is evidence to support a conclusion that any reasonable person in Secretary Clinton's position or in the position of those government employees with whom she was corresponding about these matters should have known that an unclassified system was no place for that conversation. In addition to this highly sensitive information, we also found information that was properly classified as secret by the U.S. intelligence community at the time it was discussed on email. That is, excluding the later upclassified emails. So there it is. She knowingly sent classified information through her personal server and did nothing to stop it, did not switch over to a government server or anything. And again, when I was in the military, had I done some shit like that, it would be my ass. Continuing on. None of these emails should have been on any kind of unclassified system, but their presence is especially concerning because all of these emails were housed on unclassified personal servers, not even supported by full-time security staff, like those found at departments and agencies of the United States government, or even with a commercial service like Gmail. Okay, so let me just say something here. When I was in the military, again, that's going to be what I go back to a lot because that's my government experience right there. We were taught how to handle classified information and how not to handle classified information. We were taught what would happen to us if we did not handle classified information carefully and responsibly. Is there not training for higher up government employees to know how to and how not to handle classified information? Hillary Clinton should not be the Secretary of State, let alone possibly the president, depending on how this election goes, and not know how to handle classified information. That should be the first thing that is taught to you or that you are instructed upon when you enter government jobs. And to say that Hillary Clinton doesn't know, given that her husband was president, she was first lady, she was a senator, and then got her position as Secretary of State, to say that she doesn't know, that's, again, extremely careless though. Continuing on. But even if information is not marked classified in an email, participants who know or should know that the subject matter is classified are still obligated to protect it. Now, she did not protect it. The people she was corresponding with did not protect it. That is against the law. That's carelessly mishandling classified information. That's not allowed. That is a threat to our national security. Continuing on though, with respect to potential computer intrusion by hostile actors, we did not find evidence that Secretary Clinton's personal email domain in its various configurations since 2009 was successfully hacked. But given the nature of the system and of the actors potentially involved, we assess that we would be unlikely to see such direct evidence. We do assess that hostile actors gained access to the private commercial email accounts of people with whom Secretary Clinton was in regular contact from her personal account. We also assess that Secretary Clinton's use of a personal email domain was both known by a large number of people and readily apparent. She also used her personal email extensively while outside the United States, including sending and receiving work-related emails in the territory of sophisticated adversaries. Given that combination of factors, we assess it's possible that hostile actors gained access to Secretary Clinton's personal email account. Now that read like a joke to me. I don't know if it read like a joke to you guys, just because it seemed contradictory the whole way through. Oh, we found no evidence that there was possibly someone who hacked into her emails. But given the fact that she used her email all the time and that some of her people she communicated with through her server, and given that she used it outside of the country and in territories of our adversaries, we think it's likely that she was hacked. Just say she was hacked. Just say it. I mean, there's no reason to give that fucking riddle to say that we don't think she was hacked, but she was hacked. That's just continuing. Although there is evidence of potential violations of the statutes regarding the handling of classified information, our judgment is that no reasonable prosecutor would bring such a case. Prosecutors necessarily weigh a number of factors before bringing charges. There are obvious considerations like the strength of the evidence, especially regarding intent. Responsible decisions also consider the context of a person's actions and how similar situations have been handled in the past. Yeah, I'm going to leave this pause here because let's not kid ourselves. What Hillary Clinton did is basically the same thing as what Snowden did. She might as well have just released all the shit to the public. What she did is no different from Petraeus. Actually, what she did is worse than what Petraeus did. And Petraeus got indicted. Snowden, you guys want to lock up. Continuing though. And looking back at our investigations into mishandling or removal of classified information, again, I'm going to highlight that removal of classified information and the mishandling part. We cannot find a case that would support bringing criminal charges on these facts. Just say she's too big to indict. Just say it. Let's just keep it real. You guys do not want to give a recommendation to indict because she's too big. Yet, if my black ass, my veteran ass, was to do the same shit, you guys would throw the fucking book at me. To say that you find no evidence as to why you should actually do this by looking at past cases is an full-on lie, to say the least. That all the cases prosecuted involve some combination of clearly intentional and willful mishandling or of classified information, or vast quantities of materials exposed in such a way as to support an inference of intentional misconduct or indications of disloyalty to the United States or efforts to obstruct justice. We do not see those things here. Okay, in this video so far, I have just showed you guys how there was an obstruction of justice, how there was an intentional misconduct, how there was a willful mishandling of classified information. Whether she intentionally did it or not, the fact is that she mishandled classified information. And as someone who works in government, you should know how to handle classified information. And for the FBI to tell me that someone who is Secretary of State, oh, she didn't know it was classified, or she didn't know how to handle classified information, she was just extremely careless, that is gross negligence. It's just simple, flat out bullshit that I, a former military personnel, a current veteran, could have did the same shit and would have gotten locked up. Hillary Clinton, who is running for president, who is Secretary of State, who is a former First Lady, does it, and it's okay because she's too damn big and that she didn't know. That's a bunch of bullshit. And I got more statements I want to read here, but I'm not going to. It's complete bullshit, and it's complete rewriting of laws to make sure Hillary is not indicted. I am disgusted by this. And I wasn't going to vote for Hillary Clinton either way. I was going to vote for Jill Stein. I live in a red state. It's going to go to Trump, more than likely. I'm not voting for Hillary Clinton, and I'm not voting for Trump. I'm going to vote my conscience, and my conscience tells me to vote for Jill Stein because she's more in line with my views, and she's also more in line with Bernie Sanders' views. But this right here solidifies that I will never, ever support Hillary Clinton. I will never endorse her. I will never work for her. I will never give her administration a chance to fucking relax. I will be right here going after that ass because this is a bunch of bullshit. She should be indicted, and you know it.